Hello guys, and welcome to the first ever video on my history channel, Interwar. Today, we will talk about one of the most famous units in Napoleonic history, the Brunswick Ducal Corps, more famously known as the Black Brunswickers. The story of the Black Brunswickers begins in 1806, when the Duke of the Duchy of Brunswick-Lüneburg, a territory encompassing quite a lot of the modern-day state of Lower Saxony, Charles William Ferdinand, was mortally wounded in the Battle of Jena-Auerstedt. The Duke title should therefore pass down to the hands of his 35-year-old heir, Frederick William, who was a major general in the Prussian army at the time and had also participated in the battle. After the treaties of Tilsit, however, Frederick William, who was supposed to regain his territories after the war, was instead occupied by France. It didn't help that Frederick was a staunch critic of what he saw as the unjust French occupation of Germany, maybe due to witnessing his father's death at Jena at the hands of the French, or maybe because the French were still in his land. Nonetheless, his territories were amalgamated a year later into the newly founded Kingdom of Westphalia, led by Napoleon's brother, Jerome. Fearing for his life for capture under what was essentially a Napoleonic clank regime, he fled to Bruxelles, in the Grand Duchy of Baden, and where his parents-in-law lived. He stayed in exile, and possibly wound for revenge, in Bruxelles for 2 years. When the War of the Fifth Coalition broke out between Austria, supported by the UK, Spain, Portugal, and a few others, and France, along with her German allies and clients, Frederick sensed an opportunity to rebel against the French and retake his core territories. With support from Austria, Frederick mortgaged his property in the small town of Oels and raised a militia force of around 2,300 men, mostly civilians, which was organized in Bohemia. They wore black uniforms in sign of mourning their lost country and a Totenkopf on their shackles to signify their revenge against the French. From Bohemia, he made his way towards Westphalia through the French allied state of Saxony, supported by a force of around 13,000 troops under Austrian General Michael von Kienmeyer, whom he supported in the Saxon campaign and even managed to defeat an outnumbering French force at Gefrees, essentially capturing all of Saxony for Austria. However, shocked by the Armistice of Znaim, which ended the War of the Fifth Coalition, he decided to keep fighting, with his goal now being to link up with the Royal Navy along the Black Sea coast, with whom they would take his force to Britain. His corps managed to fight his way through the city of Zwickau on the 24th of July, and managed to reach Halle by the 26th, where they were strengthened with funds and supplies. In response to this, Jerome, the King of Westphalia, ordered his three main generals, Jean-Jacques Rebel, Pierre-Guillaume Gratien, and Claude-Ignace François Michaud, to organize their troops together and defeat the Ducal Corps. He must have thought they were simple militia troops, so it most likely came as a shock when news arrived that his troops were crushed during the Battle of Halberstadt on the 30th, with around 600 losses and 2,000 captured, in which 300 of whom joined the corps. The battle is also famous for being in the Roblox game Blood and Iron. After the battle, the Duke and his forces made his way towards Braunschweig, hoping to gain further supplies and reinforcements from the city. However, just outside the city, in the district of Oper, on the 1st of August, a force of 5,000 Westphalians, led by General Rebel, were blocking his path into the city itself. Shockingly though, after a skirmish in which the Duke managed to repel a Westphalian cavalry charge, Westphalian troops withdrew in the night, allowing for his troops to pass and eventually managed to reach the small port town of Elsfleth, where the Royal Navy evacuated him and his troops. After the battle, Rebel would be relieved of duty as general after failing to destroy the Duke's forces, and he'd flee to the United States. Oper is also famous for being in the Roblox game Blood and Iron. After arriving in the UK, the Ducal Corps were integrated into British service, with Frederick gaining the rank of Lieutenant General, as his corps was sent to fight in Spain against France and the installed sister kingdom. This is where the Ducal Corps began to decline, as most of the skilled German recruits brought in were put into the mainstream King's German Legion units, leaving the Ducal Corps with whoever was left. Due to this, they also had to recruit from non-German emigres, with many nationalities from Danish to Croatians joining their ranks. The original Ducal Corps the famous men who managed to beat the odds in Westphalia and were an inspiration to Germans at the time, were either killed or out of action during the Peninsular Campaign, with few from the march through Westphalia actually surviving. After the French domination of Germany was ended by the coalition liberation of the territories annexed or amalgamated during Napoleon's reign in 1813, Frederick returned to his native territory Brunswick to reclaim his title, whilst also raising fresh men in the process for his corps. However, after Napoleon's return from Elba and his reinstatement of his rule over France in 1815, the coalition was called up again against him, and when Frederick decided to participate in the campaign in Belgium, he moved his troops there, where he was put under the Duke of Wellington's command and participated in the Battle of Courcebra. However, during the battle, the Duke was reorganizing his troops after they broke from a short-range canister barrage, when a musket ball managed to hit his hand and pierce his liver. The Duke, carried away by the men of the Labour Regiment, assumed his last words, being, "My dear Wachtholz, where's Ulferman?" ending the fairy tale and legendary life of the Black Duke. After his death, Colonel Elias Ulferman assumed control of the corps for the rest of the campaign, participating in the following Battle of Waterloo and Napoleon's retreat. After the campaign ended, the Ducal Corps was disbanded, with most of its troops either joining the army of Brunswick or retiring. However, the legend of the Black Brunswickers still lives on in their homeland. Men and women, seen as outcasts and criminals by their occupiers, fought for their freedom and liberation of their land, led by a duke who would be intertwined with post-Napoleonic romanticism. Thank you.